Could you please help us understand the basics? How do you define epigenetics and why is it so important in modern science?
First, thank you for the inspiring introduction, Mrs. Tanvi. Actually, if we look into the cells, I would like to introduce the number first of the average number of cells that we have in average human body. I mean, in terms of weight, it's about 30 trillion cells we have, which is 30 by 10 to 12 cells in the body. In each cell, there is different organelles. And the main organelles we are focusing on tonight is the nucleus, which has the genetics. So maybe people, they are familiar with genetics, but they are not familiar with the meaning of epigenetics. And they are also familiar with the chromosomes. Because I think everybody knows that the genes are arranged in the form of chromosomes in the nucleus. So the form is the chromosome.
You mean this part, like the DNA?
This part,
yeah,
yes,
this, yes.
Yeah. If we look into this chromosome, which is the arrangement of the genes, what is actually genes? Genes related to DNA. So either we can say gene or we can say DNA.
Okay.
But actually the DNA, if you imagine DNA as a thread or string, it is consisting of genes.
Okay.
So first, this is what we mean by genes. So they sit in the form of the DNA, and that form is arranged in the form of the chromosome.
Okay.
So the meaning of genes is like the code for different proteins which we have in our body, functional proteins. So we need these proteins to be in our body, to be expressed in our body, to be there in order to function, for our body to function properly at the cellular level, starting from the cells. So like if we say we have like a sequence of DNA consisting of gene 1, 2, 3, for example, these genes are expressed, they are translated in the form of protein 1 to N3. So that's the meaning of expressing the genes. It should be in the form of proteins, nothing else. So the question, do we have the same genes, same number of genes and same genes in all our cells? Yes. Either it is a muscular cell or nervous cell or blood cell, bone cell, whatever the cell is, still have the same set of genes, which means that it's our blueprint. If we look into each of these tissues now, let's say muscle, blood, nerves, for example, bone, whatever the tissue is, do they all express the same genes, even though they have all the same genes? No. So that's what gives this the speciality about that cell. So that's what we have different. So people work in research, and even those people that expert in the cells, they would see different form. We call it for morphology, the shape of cell, the function of cell is different. If we look at a nervous neural cell, it's different than the muscular cell, and so on. So that's the expressed proteins are different. So that means that there should be a specific mechanism which actually determine which genes are going to be expressed in that cell, even though the same files are there, the same genes are there. So we all have, all the cells in our body have the same file, the same archive, the same file there, the files. I would call the files of the gene, of the proteins. So whenever we need a specific protein in a particular cell, there is a mechanism which would search for the code of that protein, which sits inside the nucleus of the cell. So that's the code we rely on in order to express a particular protein. Okay, that's at the just normal level. Still, we are talking about normal thing. And also, it is, meant to sometimes, and if we just talk about it, how it's determined, it's at the muscle, even through the embryo formation that's happened. This is important. And through our life, also epigenetics is involved in this. However, I would like, in this show, in today's episode, I would like only to focus on the genetic or the genes that are related to diseases, and they are either their expression is necessary, should happen through the epigenetic. So what is the epigenetic now? Now, we already already we are agree on how يعني imagining that now the DNA is the string or the thread
Yes.
that sits in the nucleus in the form of chromosomes.
Yes.
However, I would say that it's not entirely string now. If you imagine, you know, the string and the balls game, there is a game, string and ball. That's the form, if we can imagine, that's the best imagination, best model of putting the epigenetic.
Okay.
The string is there, however, it is actually rotating around a number of balls. And these balls are known as proteins, histones. So this is the form, they are called chromatides. They are sitting the chromosome in this form. So if you look into it closely, we will see the string is like rotating around a number of proteins known as histones, the balls.
Yeah.
Okay. So actually, now if we focus on because I don't want to just talk about the morphology of different cells and also the genetic diseases, I would like to focus on the genetic diseases. So if we imagine now the DNA there, the DNA there as a string, and there is a number of genes, and if we like either yani this gene will be like attaching to the either attaching or not attaching to that ball.
Okay.
So something is regulating this attachment and detachment. So if it's attached, it means what? That gene won't be expressed.
Okay.
Because the mechanism that is responsible for expressing that gene cannot see that gene. It should be available there for that mechanism in order to translate that gene. So it is attached to that ball, won't be available for expression.
Correct.
If it's detached loosely and it's loose, so the mechanism would see it and it will be expressed.
So
that's the secret.
Let's use it in a very easier way. So if this is attached, you mean it's switched off.
Yes,
it's off.
That's the way.
And
that's
when
how
it's when it is up, it's not attached or detached. It is switched on.
It's switch on. Yes, yeah. That's the way. The best way to do it, to put it. Yes, switch off and on.
Switch off.
Okay. Okay. So that's how we can define epigenetic. It's something that we can put it in a model and just, you know, we can understand the way of the best model string and ball, either detach or attach, either switch on or switch off.